Right, so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to rename everything from JS to TSX, so I'll go ahead and do that. Right, so now that I've done that, I'm getting a few errors in here on the pages. So again, we just need to fix these errors. So if I go into the not found page, we are using a SEO title that we are passing in as props, but this SEO is a component. So we have a reusable SEO component which renders the SEO for us and adds the meta names in here and also the title for your application, which is quite handy. So again, these titles and children are not defined as a type, so let's go ahead and define them. So we can do this inline in here like so, which is essentially description, title, and children. And description and children are optional, so the only thing we really need is the title, so I'll fix that issue there. And essentially that would fix the issue across all of the pages because the SEO component is being rendered in all of the pages in the head. So now that's fixed, what I want to do is instead of using module.css and layout.css in here, I want to install styled components. Now the way to do that is add it in through a plugin. So we're going to look at plugins. So the way to add a plugin is if we go into gatsby-config.js over here, we have this section which is called plugins, and we already have Gatsby plugin image installed, which is a image compressor. It also optimizes your images. It's similar to Next.js image tag, which I've discussed in my other videos. And we have a Gatsby source file system, which has the name of images, and it resolves a path for the directory name /source/images, which is all of the images in here. So that is a path that we need to look out for. We have a Gatsby transformer shop and a Gatsby plugin shop. We have a Gatsby plugin manifest, which renders our manifest.json. So we will leave that there. If I go into the browser on the Gatsby docs over here, if we go to the top where it says open source and click on Gatsby plugins, and I'm going to just open this in a new tab. Now you can see it says welcome to the Gatsby plugin library. So you can add functionality and customize your Gatsby site or app with thousands of built-in plugins, which are over here. So we have MDX integration, which we will use. We have Remark, Airtable, and so many other options over here. So what I want to do now is install styled components, so I can search for styled components. So if we just do Command F and styled components, and now you can see here it's in the CSS and UI section. You can also add these plugins in here if you wanted to, but I'm just going to keep it simple and use styled components. And it's quite easy on how you would install it. So all you need to do is copy this. So let's copy the install script in here. Let's cancel the project for now and paste this in and install Gatsby plugin style components, and Babel's plugin style components. So whilst that's installing, if we go back into the docs, and it says here how to use, and we was looking at gatsby-config.js. So all we need to do is add this object that we have over here into the gatsby-config.js, which is where all of our plugins are in this plugin array over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So back in Gatsby config.js, and I'm just going to add the object here. And what you can do is you can also add options in, but all we need to do is just add it in as the one. So what I'm going to do instead is cut this out here and add it in just after as a string and not an object. So now we have Gatsby plugin image and styled component already installed. So if we go across in here, we have options such as display name false, and you can also read this further, but what I want to do is press back. There's quite a few plugins in here that we can use, but let's go ahead and get started with adding style components in now. So what I want to do is delete the layout CSS file and also the index module CSS file. And I'm going to run npm start again, and we're going to be working on the home page first of all. So let's go ahead into the home page on pages, index.tsx, and we have quite a few links in here that we don't need because I'm going to delete them. And again, sample page links. We're just going to start the home page from afresh. So let's just delete all of this and the styles as well. And I'm going to delete everything within the layout. So let's delete that. And I'm just going to render a H1 just saying home page. And if we run npm start, we are getting an error, which is quite common in Gatsby. So what we need to do is we need to make some changes to the package.json file. So if we go in the package.json over here, because we installed the style components plugins and the dependencies, what we now need to do is where we have our start scripts over here, what I'm going to do is where we run npm start, we also need to clean as well, because what happens is there is a cache buildup in this folder over here. So whenever we run npm start, what will happen is it will run gatsby clean and then it will run gatsby develop. So if we just change this script in here like so, and now we save all and close this down, and now if I run npm start again, it should fix that, because what it will do is it will clean the cache out and then restart the project again. So now it's loading, as you can see, and then it will build a development bundle. And then if we scroll up, we are getting another error, which is module not found, can't resolve layout CSS, because we've deleted that. So again, we need to go into the source of components and remove the import where layout CSS is. So now if we save all and run the project again, we now have the project running. So let's check the home page now. So if we press reload, and now you can see we have a header, a home page, and then the footer as well. So now let's go ahead and add our style component styles in here. So what we want to do is, because we've already have a layout component set up, what we can do is edit that. So in layout in here, if we start from the top, layout component that queries for data with Gatsby's use static query component, we can remove this because we already have the layout component set. And at the top of the file here, what happens is we query for data using the GraphQL from Gatsby. So now what we want to do is we want to see this query in action. So what we'll do is we'll copy this query. So if we copy this, and in our terminal at the bottom, if we scroll up, you can see this, which is says localhost 8001 GraphQL. So let's click through to that. And now you can see here we have a GraphQL playground in place. So the way to play with the playground is we can click here on the sides. We have quite a lot of functionality, but this is where we fetch our data from. So say, for example, we add a new plugin. So like in our case, it'll be the Porky API. It will get populated in here. We will then create a query like you would normally do in GraphQL. And then you will get that query and paste that into the page that you are fetching the data from. So in our case, what I want to do first of all is paste in this query here that we have, and you can also click through it on the side like so. But I'm just going to press play now, and you can see here this it says the site metadata is the title Gatsby default starter. What I could also do is press enter and then control space on the keyboard, and it brings me a few different options that I can select, such as the description. And if I press play again, you can see the description of the Gatsby project. So kick off your next great Gatsby project with this default starter. And if we scroll here, you can see the same options are being shown on here. I can click site URL and that also gets added on, as you can see this over here. So now what we want to do is if we change this, it should update on the GraphQL endpoint. So what we need to do is if we go back into here, if we go into our Gatsby config, and at the top here, this is what we saw in our GraphQL playground, which is here. So let's go ahead and change this now. So I'm just going to bring in what I already have. So you can change it to whatever you want to change it to. In my case, it's going to be the title, description, and author. We can just keep the site URL the same for now. And now if I save, what will happen is it's going to write the page data and update everything. And in this endpoint now, if I press play again, you can see now it says title is Pokédex, description is site URL. And what I also want to collect is the author, which is myself. So now, as you can see, it says Imran Codes here. So now that is fetching the correct information. So if we go into here now, you can see it says Pokédex instead of what it said before, which is the default starter. If we go back into our homepage, I'm just going to delete this as well. And if we explore the homepage further, we have export const of head, which is essentially the head of our page, and it's rendering the SEO component where we are passing in the title of home for this one. And then again, for 404, it will be the same again. So that's quite handy that we can inject the head per page. So going back into the layout, we have the data being fetched. The header is being set at the top, which is the header component, which we also need to fix. But for now, what I'm going to do is go into the layout.tsx, and where we are rendering the return block over here, I'm going to delete everything in here. So I'm just going to bring in my code. So you would have a theme provider. The header is what we had previously, which is what we are fetching from the GraphQL query. We have a main and also a default theme, which we need to configure. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is create a new folder within our components called the layout. And in here, what I'm going to do is move the layout TSX in here because I want to be able to add these styles and then rename this to index. And now in the layout, I can then add my styles file relevant for the layout style. So styles.ts. And what I'm going to do is just paste in the main, which is export constant main is equal to style.main. We have a font family in here, the margin, padding, height of 100 VH, and then the A tags for everything within the main will have the text decoration of none and the color of black. So if we go into here, we just need to import the main coming from the styles file, and then I just need to create the default theme. So if we close the components folder and the images folder and the pages, I'm going to add a new folder, which is the styles folder. And in here, I'm going to create an index file. So this is going to be the main file for our styled components. So again, what I want to do is bring in my code. And essentially what happens is we have our colors. So the colors are going to be white, black, primary, secondary, and border, which are the predefined Pokédex colors. We have fonts as well that we are bringing in. And then we also have the default theme. So now that is being exported. We can then import it in our layout file over here. And finally, I just want to create a new folder for our types because we are using TypeScript. So new folder called types. And again, I wouldn't worry about the folder structure too much in this. It's more to get you familiar with Gatsby itself. You could create a better folder structure than this, but because the complexity of this project isn't that large, then I'm just going to create it on one single level like so. So in the types folder, I'm just going to create a new types file. And in the types file, I'm just going to call it theme.ts and just paste in my theme colors, which is essentially these colors here, as they are all strings. So let's go ahead and import this. So now that is our style component set. And let's save everything here. What I then want to do is I want to render and see if I can access the props of the primary color. So let's go back into the layout in here, and we have the main rendering the children, and the layout is then wrapping all of the pages now. So in our pages, we can just render the layout like so, and then instead of this now, we could do a H1. So this will be the home title. And again, what I can do now is create a page styles for this. So in styles, I'm going to create a new file called homepage_styles.ts. So now all I want to do is define home title. So let's go ahead and do that in homepage title. So export const of home title is equal to style.h1, and we can give it these styles in here. I just need to import styled from styled components, and then I'm just going to give the color from available from the props that we have created. So it'll be props.theme.colors.primary. So now if I save, I just need to import it in from the home page now. So let's go ahead and do that. And what you can also do is in our layout component, we could create global styles as well from style components, but I'm just going to leave that for now. So what I want to do next is to add the font so it is similar across the app to this font over here.